All right, everyone, and welcome to a brief Q&A about Germany relocation options here within Citizen Remote. I'm excited to dive in here with Tobias. I know he was just giving me a bunch of advice on how to say his name appropriately. It's Schönborn, right?
Yes, right. My last name is pronounced Schönborn in German, and
Thank you.
Tobias also the first name in German.
Perfect.
That's how you pronounce it.
So, when you're relocating to Germany, these are things that you're going to have to pick up eventually. So, really excited though to dive in with our legal team in Germany. Tobias, it's really exciting to have you on. I've been through Germany,
Oh,
Munich. My family's actually just over there right now. I wasn't invited to the trip, but they were going up the Rhine,
nice.
and they were saying it was just amazing. All these castles, and it's so green over there. I'm in Spain, so I don't get the green per se in Barcelona, but beautiful country over in Germany. So hopefully we can help kind of decipher, what visas and pathways individuals, freelancers, remote workers have to relocate to Germany. So I know that there are a few different visa categories, geared towards remote workers. Just first off, there is no digital nomad visa in Germany as digital nomad visas go, correct?
Yes, there is no classical digital nomad visa like other countries have it. There are a few other options available, and sometimes people refer to it as a digital nomad visa. But from my understanding, the intention behind these visa categories is a different one. But of course, it can be used for working here temporarily and without getting a local work contract, for example.
Okay, and
So,
so maybe we can dive into that. I'm assuming
yeah.
that that is the freelancer visa. Is that correct?
Yes, the most popular is a freelancer visa. So, if people would like to come to Germany, they can come as a self-employed person. But one big requirement of the freelancer visa is that you usually need to show that you have clients in Germany. That's a tricky part because otherwise we hear arguments from the consulates or from the embassies that they said, well, if you don't have German clients, you don't need to come to Germany and work here, and you can stay where you are and work remotely from this country. So it's mandatory to have at least one or two German references. It doesn't need to be your client in the end, but for the visa application, you need to prove with a business plan, with a cash flow plan. So it needs to be very detailed, also depending on where you apply, from which country. Um, like the business foundation is on solid food, for example. And that's very important for the authorities because they are very keen that you have a stable income, that you can pay for your living, for your food, for your health insurance, for your accommodation. So that's the main reason why they ask for so many documents because they want to make sure you have enough income. So business plan is important, and then the German references that you have potential clients available.
Okay. And so with that business plan, I think, a lot of people think, all right, yeah, I have my own company. I'll just go over to Germany. Obviously, you're talking about how you need to prove that you're going to actually work there, but does that mean that you're going to actually have to open up an entity or a branch of your company in Germany to obtain that visa?
No, not necessarily, because for the visa application, they just want to see that you have business in Germany. And this is the reason why you come to Germany, because you need to give strong arguments that you need to be on the ground to see in person your clients and can collaborate with them, like in Germany, in Berlin, Munich, wherever you are. And it's not necessary to open like an own entity or branch office. That's also then more like a taxation topic or like a social security topic. Um, but for the visa application, it's not mandatory.
Okay, so that's new to me. I actually was unaware that I thought that you had to actually open up a company in Germany, but it sounds like as long as you're just working
No.
with clients over here or over in
Yeah,
Germany.
you can be self-employed, for example, so you don't need to open a company. It's just that you register yourself as having like a business, but you don't need a company or anything to be linked to it. But it's
Okay.
that's as mentioned, it's more than a taxation topic in the end. where you pay your income, where you send your bills for the visa application. It's just important that you have income you can spend in Germany for your cost of living.
Okay. And so, in terms of, I know the freelancer visa, there are certain categories that enable you to kind of utilize that visa type. I don't know if there's any longevity of company, like how long it has to be open, but is there specific categories and who can utilize this, or is it really open to anyone who's a freelancer?
Actually, it's open for anyone who's a freelancer. Just the business plan needs to be strong, right? And so you need to have sufficient proof of evidence, how you can say that the business
Mhm.
plan is real and that it's not like a ChatGPT plan without any proven sustainability behind it. So if you say, for example, you want to open like a K-pop shop in Germany, then you
Yeah.
need to prove that you're experienced, that you have the funds, that you already investigated on renting a shop and all this kind of things. So they need to understand that it's real and not just a visa to come into Germany and then stay here and they don't get you out of the country.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I guess, on that, does this doesn't allow you to obtain a job in Germany. Is that correct, or does it?
Yes, like of course you can then, if you are here on a freelancer visa, look for a job. But before you are allowed to start to work in the job, you need to change your status. Then, depending on what you are eligible for, like the most famous one is the German Blue Card or the EU Blue Card. You can then change your status in Germany if you are employed. That's no problem at all. Just might take some time because the immigration offices are currently overloaded with work. So depending on where you live, it can take a few months until you get an appointment and they change your status. And only when they change your status, you are then allowed to start to work as an employee, for example.
Okay, and that's pretty similar then in the digital nomad visa vein of you can't work there until you would have to change your status. So that's kind of similar to
Correct. Yeah.
most other countries. And then, briefly on the opportunity card, I know that that's a new visa that I think is coming out this month. Is that correct?
Yes, actually, it was what came into force on 1st of June, so it's brand
Oh,
new. And the opportunity card is meant for talents to come to Germany and search here for a job for up to 1 year. And also, the opportunity card is for people who did not study, but if they have some other vocational training, they need to prove this vocational training is kind of recognized in Germany. The tricky thing is for the recognition, the government should open like a database where you can search for your vocational training, but the database is not there yet. So you cannot really prove that you have vocational training unless you studied. This database is available for a long time. You can check if your degree is kind of recognized in Germany because, a bachelor is not a bachelor. In some countries, you just pay for the title. And in other countries, you go 5 years to university and study really hard. So that's what they want to see that this is kind of recognized as well or similar like as in Germany. And yeah, the opportunity card, as mentioned, it allows you to come to Germany for 12 months, search for a job, and while searching for a job, you were already allowed to work part-time in Germany, so up to 20 hours per week, which is a good benefit. So you can already have some income, get familiar with the culture, etc., learn the language, and search for a job on the ground. Because usually that's a tricky part. Like if you have an interview with the company, they say, well, we like to hire you, but you need to apply first for a visa, and it can take 5 to 6 months, and it's not 100% guaranteed that you get the visa. They usually don't hire you. Um, so with the opportunity card, you are in the country, you have the status, you can start working. Of course, then you need to change it, but it's much quicker than starting the process from outside of Germany. And
because you can start working
yeah,
immediately, and then in that process of changing it, you're legally allowed to work with the opportunity card.
yes, correct.
And this is kind of similar or like a expansion, I guess, of the job seeker visa, or do they both live kind of simultaneously?
Yes. Yeah, actually, the job seeker visa is only valid for up to 6 months. So
Hmm.
the validity always is linked to your financial background. So the more financial means you have on your bank account, for example, the longer they will grant the visa because they want to see that what I mentioned initially, that you have sufficient funds available to live in Germany, to pay the rent, to pay the food, um, to pay utilities and whatever applies. So the more kind of money you have, or the longer the visa is valid. And the job seeker visa is actually only meant for people who studied, who have like a university degree, and the opportunity card. There's also like a point-based system behind it, but this is also for people who just did a vocational training, for like also nurses or people working in elderly homes, these kind of talents, how we call
Okay.
them.
All right.
Yeah.
And then, so I know, I believe it was before we started recording, we talked about how remote work isn't really recognized in Germany. For that part time, for the opportunity card, would you be able to part time work remotely, or is that not allowed?
To be fair, it's officially not allowed because if you take up employment in Germany, you need kind of the approval of the Federal Employment Agency or the Immigration Office. So also in general, if you just come here as a tourist and come here for holidays and work, I don't know, to come here for 1 month holidays and work 2 weeks in between, it's officially not allowed as a tourist on a Schengen visa, etc. So maybe the law will be changed, but I don't really see it for the next months because politics are very slow and this whole digital nomad thing is very new for all of
Hmm.
us and especially for politicians who are 60 years plus. it's a totally different topic. So I don't see that there a change will become. So of course, in like practicality, a lot of people come here, they work. It's the same for us, I guess. If you are on holiday and you check your emails, actually it's already work, but of course nobody's getting a visa for it. So it's a thin line, like if you check your emails during vacation, or if you really are sitting in a co-working place, working 60 hours a week.
Yeah.
That's yeah, a long thin line.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. And speaking of kind of like depending on whether you're going there and actually like getting on an email and checking, I've kind of heard, obviously, you said one example is working 60 hours a week in a co working place. The other is, I've heard that you can't really network with individuals. So, like, maybe one thing is
Then
if you do come over there on a tourist visa and you're just checking your emails and staying up to date, okay, potentially, even though it's not really legally allowed. But, like, as long as you're not like networking and trying to like obtain new clients in Germany, then most likely you'll be fine unless you're spending 60 hours in a co-working space, or am I flirting too much with that line?
yeah, that's I guess in all countries that's very gray, this area, because it's gray because the immigration officers, they should have the power to decide if it's work or if it's kind of just a business meeting and you can come up a business visitor. So business meetings, like coming here on a business trip with a Schengen visa, for example, of your course you can do sales activities, etc. That's what the business meeting is there for. You can participate in conferences, trade fairs, etc. To do networking, to get new clients, etc. But even there on a trade fair, it's a thin line. For example, if you have a trade booth, or if you are just working like as a visitor, joining the conference. Or even a good example is always if you're a speaker, if you're invited to Germany for a keynote, you're getting paid for it. Is it work? Yes, it is. But in reality, nobody has a proper work permit for it. So, that's how it's kind of accepted throughout the industry, but officially it's not allowed.
Yeah. Well, again, I think as we discussed earlier, this can go into a whole can of worms that we might not touch on right now because we're kind of
Yeah.
strictly highlighting those who are interested in those 12 months, freelancer, kind of remote work style. So I guess, kind of circling back to the freelancer and the opportunity card, are all nationalities available for this, or is it only restricted to some?
No, all nationalities are available to it. There are some kind of friendly states, like Americans, Canadians, Israelis, etc. They can come to Germany without a visa and get here the status changed. But we don't recommend it because when they come here, they need to do first a town registration and then apply at the immigration office for the freelance visa, and this can take several months. And until that time, they are not allowed to work. So we recommend usually to apply in the origin country for the visa, and then with a visa, you can come to Germany and start to work from day one. So this is fine, and all nationalities qualify for it, but of course, it's a bit tougher for some nationalities to secure a visa appointment and then to pass kind of the background check, especially right now in some African countries or in like Pakistan, for example. It takes up to a year to secure a visa appointment, which is incredible. So
Yeah. And that also
yeah.
depends on those consulates in that country as well, how backed up they are.
Yes, in some countries, there's even a lottery to get an interview appointment or to get an appointment. This is really crazy. And that's really the bottleneck to obtain a visa for Germany, the consular visa appointment.
Yeah.
And can
So,
sum
I mean,
up,
it sounds like, oops, sorry.
it,
It sounds like it's possible. It's just that you got to be patient if you're interested in kind of that
definitely.
relocation.
Yeah, be patient, have a lot of time, have a plan B. Usually everything is possible, but you just need time and a good kind of track record, especially for the freelance visa, so that it kind of all makes sense to the visa officer deciding on it. So you need to
Absolutely.
have a bulletproof plan.
Yep, absolutely. And then I know you kind of touched on income savings. Is there kind of any, maybe just the relocation costs in general? Like, what is somebody who wants to not only get a business plan, but relocate to Germany, like cost of living, all that? Like, what would you expect or recommend someone to be able to spend or be ready to spend when obtaining a visa and relocating to Germany?
It's a tough one because it also depends on where you live in Germany. But for
Yep.
example, most interesting city is like Berlin, I guess, for a lot of people from abroad. And it can be quite expensive to rent an apartment or like a shared room. And usually one third or even one half of your income in Germany is spent on the rent. Like you need at least €1,000 to find a nice small place. But of course, the sky's no limit.
Yeah.
You can also spend €3,000 easily for a nice furnished apartment in
Hmm.
Berlin Central. Then cost of living, like grocery shopping, is kind of cheap compared to other countries because we have the Aldi and the Lidl, the discounters.
Yeah. Yeah.
But of course, if you want to go out, etc., you need to have some budget available, and I recommend minimum €500 per month. You
Yeah.
should calculate like for grocery shopping, maybe go out once or twice a week, and then of course you need on top like for utilities if you want to have like a German, I don't know, internet connection, access, this kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And then so that's obviously not even including kind of the visa itself. The visa itself with the business plan, like depending on how much assistance you need with that, that can be a few thousand as well, or
Yeah, in the business plan, they want to see how much you earn in the end, what's kind of your net income you can then spend. So the business plan should show that you have minimum, like there's no link to the number, but minimum €2,000 net income per month available, or even the more the better, of course, to spend then on daily life, on rent, on utility providers, insurance, grocery shopping, whatever. Even if you have a family with children, of course, then you need more income.
yeah. Okay. And then are dependents allowed to come?
Yes, that's the family reunification route. We recommend to apply the same time as the main applicant for the family reunification visa. because if you apply a few months later, it's tougher to get the visa because in some instances, the person who is already in Germany or has the visa needs to prove it has like a big enough apartment, is settled, is registered, even has, in some cases, the residence permit already obtained. So if you apply, please apply at the same time. And of course, or not of course, but you need to be married in Germany. It's also possible to have like a partnership, but then it's getting complicated because it needs to be recognized and all this kind of stuff. Also possible, but usually the easiest if you're married and have a marriage certificate and can prove.
Yeah. Because that's always the question. That was going to be my follow-up is everyone always asks, can I bring my boyfriend or girlfriend or whoever it might be? And I'm like, no, exactly.
It's usually the partnership officially, it's similar obligations as a marriage. So most people then decide to marry because you have also some advantages and tax advantages, etc. in Germany. And it's easier. And yeah, funny enough, we already arranged a lot of weddings.
Oh,
yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And I guess you just briefly touched on it, tax incentives. I guess the one thing to kind of wrap up, we're kind of running long here so we can finish up. Are there any benefits of taxes when relocating on any of these visas, or are you just going to come in and be a normal, German tax resident for that kind of purpose?
Yeah, I guess Germany is not very famous for its taxes because they're quite high, and usually you can roughly say half of your income as an employee is you pay for taxes, social security or social security contributions. So it's quite high. If you have your own business, of course, you have more possibilities to save taxes, which is all legal. You just need a really good tax advisor.
Yep.
And also with your business, like where you do the billing, etc. In the end, for the visa application, it's not important. That's more or less for the long term important when it's about your tax declaration in Germany and where you pay your taxes. So that's a really complex topic, and we can recommend some tax providers who are specialized in these topics. But benefits are definitely when you come here, as Germany is, I think, well known for its social security system. So you get a lot of child benefits. Schools are very good and kind of for free. Same like kindergarten, all this stuff. You have mandatory health insurance. So this is all very strong, definitely compared to other countries. Even for women who are pregnant, they are very well protected, the same as employees. I think that's why the bottleneck, the consulates allowing people to enter Germany, is very strict because once you are in here and can benefit from the social security system, you have I don't want to say a good life, but you are safe. Like the security system protects you of living on the street or under the bridge, etc. So
there's a lot larger of a safety net in Germany as opposed to any other countries. Yeah. Well, wonderful, Tobias. This was so helpful. I know that a lot of people will probably be interested in speaking with you and your team. You can obviously reach out to us through Citizen Remote. Would be really exciting. Is there anything else that maybe we didn't touch on? I know we covered a lot, but is there anything that you are thinking that we missed?
No, usually we just recommend to start with like an assessment just to check what's the best route to get you here. Of course, for digital nomad, it's a bit tougher than other countries, but of course, there are a lot of nice places, castles, etc., history to see and discover in Germany. So happy to connect with you.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much, Tobias, and we look forward to helping anyone who's interested.
Thank you.
Cheers.